Yeah, maybe we should probably go through it a couple times just in case there's any kind of, I don't know, weirdities.
Okay. I like to think that I'm a weirdity. Hello and welcome, everyone.
You can think of that.
Hello and welcome, everyone, to an episode of StageCraft. Well, my name is Alex. That threw you off a little, didn't it?
And my name is Don.
Oh, and we are joined by Brian, Steve, Greg, and Jay. They are collectively known as
The Buzz.
The
Buzz.
20 songs? Did you play 20 songs in 3 hours?
We had to repeat a few, to be honest with you.
There may have been some jams in there.
Yeah.
Varying degrees of success.
Extended solos, things like that.
Yeah, but they were on copious amounts of LSD.
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying we're not? Is that what you're guessing?
You just blew my mind right now. You always know, like, when you're making pancakes, that the first one's perfect. The rest of them aren't going to be good, though. Like, something's like, the thing's going to get too hot,
Just put a little more syrup on it.
Butter syrup. We always get a fair shake there. When you only play your own songs, like I live in Annapolis. Like, to play in an Annapolis bar, you got to be a cover band.
Sure.
There's like one bar in town that plays like that will, original acts can play. So, it's a little bit hard sometimes, like, when you get outside of like the DC area, like, the rock and roll hotels and, Black Hats and things like that. Like, it's hard to find an audience.
What's the name of the song, fellas?
Sparks.
Coming up now, here's the sound that all the kids are listening to. It's Jay and the Buzz. Do you ever think about, holding up in like a cabin and just, shacking up for like 6 weeks?
The Bon Iver?
And then like write an album to see what happens. Get weird with it.
So I haven't approached the band yet, but I have a little place up in Pennsylvania. My wife keeps telling me, you guys should go up there and record the Buzz. Take some time off, and everybody goes up there.
Unplug. Everyone grows weird beards.
Yeah. No, I'd totally be game. Because there's practical. Brian will. But the way we record now, it's kind of, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. We don't even, amongst ourselves, we don't even kind of get together for a weekend anymore and do it. Greg kind of lays down the drums, and then we just start kind of overdubbing. And, like sometimes a couple of us will record at a time. But a lot, it's kind of a lot of overdubbing. It'd be nice to kind of get it more concentrated, and I do some, do some recording at my place and Dropbox Greg the files, for vocals and things, so he doesn't have to sit through 30 takes or trying to come up with a harmony vocal or something like that. Which, it's very time consuming, because everyone, except for me, well, I do have cats. But they're not children, I guess, technically. But everyone's got kids, and so time is pretty much at a premium. So, kind of the way we've been recording seems to make the most sense most of the time. But it'd be nice to kind of get away, like you say.
But yeah, the cabin thing's now stuck in our head. Now that you say, I thought Bob Mould did his first did workbook by himself in a cabin, the majority of it. So look how that turned out.
Jay and I always talk about how the next song we're going to do is different. We're always like, all right, we're going to record this one this way, and we end up doing things completely different than we intend to do. So, I don't know. Maybe sometime we'll get there.
Yeah. Things never turn out the way you exactly envision them. Even a song, like you think it might sound like a particular artist in your minds, but once kind of the band collective comes together, it can completely sound like something different, but in a good way.
Well, yeah. we had
He's smirking over here.
We had a song on the last EP called Smithereens, and it was called Smithereens because before it had coalesced, we were like, that song sounds like the Smithereens. lyrics have nothing to do with it, but we ended up just titling that anyhow, and the recorded version doesn't really sound like the Smithereens at all, so it kind of doesn't.
I still think it does.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite songs that we've done, but yeah.
But wherever we end up is always, I'm always happy with it. So, as long as you end up in a good place at the end of the process, it's worth it. But for me personally, the point where I like a song is right when it comes together. Like the first time the band plays it, kind of like sounding good. I think it's a lot of shows probably at most like maybe half of the people there know who you are, so I like kind of the challenge of trying to win over a room. Kind of when you're not getting a lot of response, it's actually makes you kind of play harder, and I kind of enjoy that in a weird way. Of course, I'd like to be adored. But
we adore you.
Oh yeah, thank you. But very few people do. So it's kind of nice to kind of try to win over a room, and it's I just find it satisfying. You kind of can get some kind of aggression out, or you just feel like you've accomplished something.
It is satisfying to win over a room. It's but boy, it's nobody kind of wants to be in that situation where you have to win over a room. Almost like when you get up there, they're all on your side all at once. That's the ideal situation, I guess. Right. The waving lighters and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that would be great, of course.
When you're coming up, like, my brother did, like, playing, like, in your high school, like, hardcore punk bands, you wore it as a badge of honor that, hey, no one likes us, that kind of solidified you, and that was kind of like, you went on stage just assuming that, and then if you actually won over a few people, you're like, hey, that was pretty cool, but we weren't really expecting it. I think for some reason that's kind of a little bit of that sort of carried over into my silver years. Sort
of John Dean,
I guess.
Whatever it is.
Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or what's the Marlon Brando and the Wild Ones?
Mm-hmm.
What are you rebelling against? Right. What do you got?
I think for me it's no matter what you do musically, whether you're playing live or you're in a studio or you're practicing, there's new potential for creativity. And I think that's what I enjoy the most. It's like, wow, this Jay will bring something in. It's like, let's see where this ship sails. And it's the same thing with shows. It's we'll go into like Eastern Shore Brewing or Gettysburg or someplace, and it's like this could go all sorts of different ways. Let's see what happens. And
yeah, I think
we've done all right.
Some of my favorite shows to play now are like when we do like outdoor festival shows. Like I like it when my son's able to come watch us. It's not a bar. He's been on stage with us a few times doing hand percussion, and but it's nice. I mean, we've done like Fort Reno. We play in Annapolis, the East Puerto Rican, and I don't know. That's kind of cool to be able to connect with people who aren't necessarily there to see you, but they're in the mood to see something, And you always, I guess, at that point, you kind of feel like they're already kind of on your side. It's just up to you to go, take it all the way.
And I think people can be in those circumstances. They can be pretty genuine because some bands playing at a outdoor festival and there's cotton candy over there and beer over there or whatever, and there's some bands playing in the corner and they're playing their own music. I think your average person's probably not going to expect a lot. So when they do say something after the show nice to you, which happens to us periodically, it's really nice because it's genuine, because we might not know them. So it's kind of one thing for your friends or wives or girlfriends or what have you. they generally will give you positive reinforcement. But when someone kind of at one of these random events says something, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, you got a good point. It really, when a stranger, compliments you, it really is nice and encouraging on.
Yeah, and even more so when it's somebody who's at a particular place where music is not necessarily the main focus. They might have been at this for any number of reasons, if it's some outdoor type of thing. So if the band who was playing original music, caught their attention, then that's pretty special.
Yeah, like I spilled my beer, so I leaned over and my earplugs dropped out, and I heard the band.
And it changed my life.
That is quite a tale. That's quite a tale. Oh, when you win someone over in those situations, do you ever take note of what you think resonated with them to, maybe heighten that part of it, or do you file it away? Do you talk about how well your shows went? Do you record your shows? The Beanie Weenie must have been here.
I think we might have been there. Might have gone once.
Yeah.
All I remember is going to the gas station up the street here and just like Doritos.
You had to cross the creek.
Okay.
You had to cross the creek.
I guess I just wasn't in the know. And it was funny because we were here one day, and I guess Ian MacKaye was producing a Q and Not You album. Mm-hmm. So he was in here, and he had his bag of like whole food stuff and was like whipping up a meal, and we're drinking 40 ounces and eating Doritos. Hoping we aren't being judged too harshly.
Was it malt liquor?
It was Old English. Yeah, it was malt liquor.
Well, that's why
it was from a Shirlington gas station, so...
That's why I didn't offer you.
That's all they sell there.
Would you like some kale?
Yeah, we ended up talking about skateboarding, though, so we had a mutual ground conversation.
There's a foundation that unites us all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you record your shows?
I do. Yeah, and then I'll send them out, and I particularly, try to solicit feedback from the guys to see how we thought we did, because, for me, the reason why I play a show is because it's an opportunity for me to take a part of songs that I've actually written out and try to replicate that exactly like how I have it in my head. And so I like to listen back to the recording and see, all right, I got that one right. I kind of flubbed up here, but hey, I actually came up with something cool. I might change that to this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
song-wise.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk periodically about, as Greg said, we have a lot of live recordings, and we talk periodically about doing something with them. In release-wise, bonus tracks, or if we do like a cassette, have like a bonus side of, of live tracks. So we have kind of done some initial culling of all these performances. When you listen back, you have a very critical ear. It's hard sometimes, because a mistake kind of lives forever on that recording. Sometimes mistakes are cool. You hit a note you wouldn't have hit, and, it ended up being kind of neat, or sometimes, a flubbed intro can be kind of cool, kind of interesting.
As long as it's in key.
Exactly. Whereas as a singer, though, say, I'm not singing well, or kind of hit some bad notes or whatever, those can be kind of painful to look back through. So when we're kind of going through the recordings, you get really, you really critique what you've done.
Everybody looks at their own part.
Of course.
But it seems to me like the value of the recording would be like, hey, how does the band sound? If you could step back that far, it's hard to, because when you're especially singing, oh man, oh no, I started that first place. No, not yet. I'm a little bit too loud now.
Well, that's the thing. I'll send out 9 or 10 songs that we did the night before, and I think these 6 are keepers. Like, we could probably do something with these at some point. And it's always interesting because Jay will say, I like these 2 or 3. And I know he's listening to the vocals, because that's, the one thing that your guitar's going to sound the way your guitar sounds. Performance is typically going to be pretty on. So if there's a bad vocal spot or something like that, I know that, that's what Jay's listening for, but, I listen to the whole performance and I think, yeah, you might have said the wrong word here in this verse or something like that, but I think this song itself came out really great and it's useful.
Yeah, I mean, live, wrong word, my gosh, that's nothing.
Yeah, or
wrong verse, or
wrong verse is nothing.
Wrong part.
Wrong venue.
Wrong venue.
Yeah. No one ever knows.
I don't play the drums.
No one notices.
Well, it also seems maybe. Do you think it's a good idea to sometimes listen for crowd reaction too for your performance? Do you think that you would be able to discern what the crowd was reacting to if it was something that you were doing in particular? Because you said sometimes, for, at the beginning of a show, if the crowd isn't reacting the way you want, you play a little harder. It seems like you'd be able to discern if that was actually getting the response you wanted.
Girl, you're breaking my heart. Need a new start. My life tumbles down. Girl, your rose-colored lies, they're making me cry. Stolen my crown. I don't think you even understand. I hope that one day that you'll see. I'm playing my part, my love tumbles down. Girl, your rose-colored lies, they're making me cry. Stolen my crown. I don't think you even understand. I hope that one day that you'll see. Stuck two places in between. You're not sure what you need, 'cause you live in a dream. I don't think you even understand. I hope that one day that you'll see. You'll see.
I kind of tune myself or see like what the reaction is between songs. I don't get a sense of it when I'm actually up on the stage. That's not where my head is. So it's kind of like, I guess, like, football, like having like, the post game videos, like where you can actually see what you did. I think it's a nice perspective to have.
But what do you learn from it that way?
I don't know if I learned anything from it. It's just kind of edifying, really.
Okay.
Which
is valid. That's valid.
Right.
That's
yeah.
valid.
Sure.
I think you can learn something, though. There's some times where I'll listen back, and if there's one song we used to play was kind of a little bit slower, and I don't think we've played it that much anymore recently in our sets, but if I overhear, if there's talking or something like that, then I know we probably lost somebody there. And I think the set really dipped here. Maybe we had two slow songs in a row or something like that. And so when we come up with a set list, I'm always thinking about that. Like, how did this transpire last time? Or, how did this sound last time to the from the audience perspective? So
Yeah, I could see how that, to make the next set list, would be really helpful.
Yeah, and you can hear if the energy, in between the songs, you can hear if the energy is starting to wane a little bit. So,
but you do have slower songs, right?
Yeah, we have some.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Yeah, we've got probably, what you consider slow might not be, like you brought up the Grateful Dead earlier. Those guys are playing at a snail's pace even in their like up-tempo songs. So our slow songs aren't necessarily slow to everyone, but to hardcore punk guys, like, oh my god, these guys are putting us to sleep. But from our own perspective, we have like maybe three or four songs where we kind of dial back things, or maybe they're more kind of based on dynamics.
Crowd coolers,
Yeah,
because you don't want people to get
exactly.
too
those
crazy.
are good to have
Exactly.
too. Though,
Yeah.
if we do 2 or 3 songs in a row that are much more intense.
So I definitely feel like, okay, I can pull it back a little bit.
Give everybody a break.
Yeah.
Got to have a rest hold, baby. Yeah,
Yes,
you don't want to burn that crowd out. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think it also depends who you're playing with. Like
Yeah.
the show we played at Comet, like the other bands were all pretty, they were pretty up tempo
I,
and a little aggro.
I definitely felt ramped up
Yeah,
on
right.
some of the tunes, and I think that was kind of a reaction to how they played. I was like, maybe a little bit. I want to show that I can hang, and maybe a little bit like, this might put them to sleep because So I think I view that positively. Like I fed off like, wow, I really liked like the band Chill Parents that we played with. Like I really liked that sort of energy, although they played after us. But I listened to the tape and I said, yeah, I want to. On the songs it's appropriate to do so, I want to bring that energy.
They were pretty punk, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really play with all sorts of bands. What Slash
We
Run?
fit in well.
Slash Run, we kind of played with like an R&B rock
Yep.
sort of band.
Yeah,
and
they had I think they had an R&B vibe at Slash Run.
yeah,
And
with
then
a ska band.
Gary Owen, we played. Weren't they like
was a ska band.
we
Yeah,
played with a ska band.
they had horns and everything.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, they played before us, so we followed a ska band. But kind of when you play first, you're starting with a clean slate.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the vibe. There might be people there to see the other band, and you can kind of sense if it's too fast, too sleepy or too rockin'. And also some of the venues we play, we don't want to kill people with volume because it's our preference to play pretty loud, but we realize it isn't always appropriate, and sometimes we get helpful suggestions if we're playing too loud.
Which is probably good. Keep it in balance.
Some people's opinions we take, we put more stock in, like Maria, Steve's wife, is always, but she has a good opinion. She knows, she's seen us a lot and knows what we're doing. Whereas other times we get told to quiet down by people who just don't. I just don't think they like music.
She gave me some of the most valuable feedback when I first joined the band. I mean, it was just more like, hey, that was good. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't poop the bed.
Maria's opinion's always been on point. So, kind of the fifth member over there.
Is it objective or is it? Do you feel like it's objective?
I think it's pretty objective.
She always says more bass in the mix. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good advice for life, though. Everyone could use a little more bass. Everyone.
But then you have to, of course, the vocals coming through have a lot to do with that, because obviously the amps can be turned up as loud as you want.
Right, of course, yeah. If you can't have the instruments blowing away the vocals, if the PA is not sufficient to kind of keep up with the amps, yeah, the vocals need to, I don't want them twice as loud as the music, but they need to kind of ride just a hair above maybe the guitars or something like that.
Hi, this is Joshua Rich, and you're listening to my Snippets of Wisdom. For more information about me and to hear my music and such, please visit me at www.joshuarich.com. Thank you. I've had nightmares ever since I was a kid. I keep thinking that they're going to go away, but to be completely honest, I don't think they will. And I guess that's kind of what I've come to realize, is that I'll always be that little kid with whatever happened to me that caused whatever got into the recesses of my subconscious that manifests itself as these nightmares now as an adult. I think it'll always be there. So, and think instead of fighting it, instead of trying to fix it or think that I can heal that kind of, maybe it's better just to accept that, yeah, that'll always be a part of me. I carry that into adulthood and I'll always have the nightmares, but it's okay. It's part of me and it's manageable and it's part of what I have, and it's better than trying to change it or get rid of it or feel bad about it. It's just a part of me that I brought into my adult life, and I can accept it and do my best to just deal with it when it happens. We are always all of our ages, all at the same time.
We played a show in Gettysburg last year where we all wore.
Why do you play Gettysburg so much? What's the deal?
It's an untapped market.
For real?
There is a bar in downtown Gettysburg, an Irish bar called the Gary O, and the woman who bartends there also plays in a punk band. And she's just started booking like indie and alt bands, as well as Americana and traditional Irish. And it just, in little towns, man, they're happy to see you. No one's jaded.
Right. But wait a minute, why black flannel?
Plaid flannel.
Oh, plaid flannel.
Well, it was December, so
We were all cold.
Yeah, we were all
okay.
cold. And we didn't even realize until the end of the show when someone took our picture. We're like, we all look like just outtakes from Jason Penny.
We look like the
Mentioning half the shows that we play, I think we actually are our own sound engineers. So I think we've got like a pretty good sense of like what our levels are.
Right. Generally, we come in, we bring in our amps, have it on a certain setting, and usually we don't have to change it that much. It's, because when we practice in Greg's basement, and we have a little vocal PA, but, we don't mic up anything other than the vocals. And I guess that's kind of our natural volume is what we play down there. It's probably too loud, but that's our natural volume.
It was last night.
Merchandise. You guys, you mentioned cassettes and CDs. CDs, did you mention? Yeah.
Yeah.
How important is that to you?
Jay and I are
physical
media connoisseurs.
Mm-hmm. Which is good.
Yeah, it's really important to. I'll just speak for myself. I mean, it's important for me to have some type of tangible product. Whether it's even if it's just a tape. If I'm just going to listen to it on my phone, I still like to have some type of physical thing that I can hold in my hand, say I made this.
But at every show, do you bring merch?
Yeah, we bring merch. For the Buzz, we've done one 7-inch, and we've got a couple CDs. With Greg in the band now, we hope to do a cassette because, I collect physical media of every kind, much to my wife's chagrin. Records, tapes, CDs. I still buy CDs, and I kind of like to have the option of buying whatever work comes out in any in any format that I want. So I think it's cool to make it available. But vinyl is so ridiculously expensive to produce, but cassettes are like $2 a piece, and it's like a legit manufactured piece of product. Not that a lot of people have cassette players, but give them a code. They can put it.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I see.
Download code. give them the...
So in other words, they don't play the cassette.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
These guys would put out an 8-track if they could find like the manufacturer to
We're
do
gonna
so.
put out
I don't know what's weird. So I
Wax
fully agree
cylinder.
with everything you're saying, because I enjoy cassette tapes. I actually do have a cassette player in my car, so
nice.
so I'm fine with it. But I agree because I do, there's something I find just very satisfying about the cassette and the way it fits into the case. It's so stupid, but it's like this muscle memory thing, and there's such a strong memory tied to the pleasure that one used to get when you would purchase a cassette and stuff like that.
And put a pencil eraser in there so you could rewind and everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, when it would start to come out, and then you knew I'm going to have to hear that forever. That little bend in there.
The crimple.
Yeah.
Yep.
God.
I'm glad those guys waved the physical media flag, because some of my older bands where we actually did have cassettes made up, there are a couple floating around. I don't have one, and I regret that. So I'm glad that that's part of the battle cry of this band, is that we have that physical stuff, because it's like, good, now I got something, now I got proof.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I've heard bands say, or even single musicians say they wish they had a recording from back then. But at the time, it's usually, get out of here with that. You take it.
Yeah.
I mean, this might be too deep, but
Nothing's too deep for us.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I like the way I started with that.
So one last thing that I like about the cassettes and also vinyl or something like that is, for us, we do a lot of self-recorded things, and so for me to hear it on a different format, it changes the way it sounds. So we did the last EP we did lathe cut records.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say vinyl, but yeah, they are made out of vinyl. So lathe cut vinyls, and there's a couple of songs where I've just heard them so many times from mixing them, and I've heard the vinyl master a million times. And when I got the lathe cut and I put it on my turntable, the bass was totally different. Like, it just sounded so much different to me and so much better. I totally enjoyed it like it was like I'd never heard it before.
Yeah, vinyl definitely breathes. You know? When we did our 7-inch EP a while back, it was the first time that we had things mastered for both digital and for vinyl. And I learned a lot from that process. I never understood the depth between, or the width between the grooves, and what that does for the reverberation. And it made the whole 12-inch dance single thing make sense to me. I'm like, oh, this is bassy music for people to dance to. That's why you look at these 12-inch dance singles and the grooves are that far apart. You can only fit 7 minutes of music on a side. But yeah, it made me really kind of appreciate that medium a little bit more. And I can hear it now. To me, I don't know if I'm making up a mind, but it just seems to breathe more on vinyl.
It does, but the whole process of making it is very complicated. It goes through all these different steps, and it's just amazing what could turn out in the final product.
We were sitting behind the engineer who was mastering it to vinyl, and we were just sort of trying to figure what he was listening to. I mean, his hands were moving a mile a minute, and
was he explaining it too as he was going?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he'd won a Grammy for remixing some folkways stuff for the Smithsonian. So he's kind of an archivist type of recording.
Yeah, it's the guy's up in Tacoma.
The air show.
Tacoma
I don't
Tacoma
know.
Park Studio.
Yeah, Charlie, I think his name
Yeah,
is.
it was Charlie.
Yeah.
His last name I can't remember, but it was Charlie, right?
He had the biggest speakers I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
They were 6 feet tall.
Big
Wow.
cabinet speakers. Yeah, they were coffins up on
They're
end.
crazy.
Yeah.
What is it that brought you to music the very first time? Do you remember the first live performance that you saw that hit you, in a special place that music hit you? I'll start with you, Greg. Do you remember?
I remember my first concert was Duran Duran, and it was, I think it was on the Arena Tour. It was 1984 at the Hartford Civic Center in Connecticut. And my mom took my brother and I had been really into Duran Duran up to that point. I had a couple of their tapes, and I went to that show, and it just blew me away. I'd never seen anything on that scale. So
What blew you away? Was it the music itself?
coming out of the tape, Duran Duran existed for me in some cassettes. Their pictures were, an inch by an inch inside, and I was a little kid.
You could Google them, right?
Well, not back then, So I was a young kid, and I looked at the liner notes, and that was it. So to go and then see the real people and see it on this huge stage and have it just be so loud. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old or something like that, and it just the whole thing blew me away. So
nice.
I may question the parenting of letting an 8-year-old child go to a Duran Duran concert in the 80s. There was probably a lot of cocaine at that concert.
Mostly on stage, probably, though.
True. And backstage. But that's
Yes,
all right.
exactly.
What about you, Jay?
Well, I would say I got more into music from recorded music. Because I really didn't start going to shows until I was about 15, 14. And these were metal shows. I saw the first show. All right, the first show I really saw was Weird Al Yankovic. He
That's
played,
a solid first show.
Yeah. He played I grew up in a small town, but there's a college there, and he played there. And my dad is a professor there, and I got to hear that he trashed his dressing room afterwards.
Oh,
so
really?
Cool. Yeah.
Weird Al is a trasher.
Yeah. So says my father.
It's a rock and roll heart.
Yeah.
Or his crew. It might have happened after he left.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Or his crew.
So someone trashed the dressing room.
John Bermuda
And
Schwartz.
sometime in the mid '80s, in Cobblesville, New York. That's where I grew up. But
Al, if you're listening to this, your reputation is dead.
oh yeah, it's really sullied in Schoharie County, New York. But
Where's that at?
it's west of Albany, about 40 minutes west of
Like
Albany.
Rensselaer area?
Yeah, not too far.
yeah.
Yep. But after that, I started going to metal shows. So the first kind of real, what I would consider real show is Ace Frehley. I saw Ace Frehley solo from Kiss. And then I saw like Aerosmith. And then I started getting old enough. We had like, the amphitheater, of course. And it was mostly seeing classic rock and stuff like that. Robert Plant. And then I was of the age where, like my first year in college, or maybe my first year right before, the whole Lollapalooza thing started. So I was, getting more into college rock, indie rock, and it kind of went from there. But for most of my, kind of growing up experience, it was just listening to cassettes and the radio.
What about you?
Oh, for me, I saw, a couple big concerts, like kind of, junior high and early into high school, but it was, stuff like Eric Clapton, and I saw Billy Idol at the old, student union at University of Maryland, and, he had a shredder guitar player, Steve Stevens. So these were these spectacle shows with like these, virtuistic musicians. So it was fun to watch, but I didn't really connect with the dots that maybe I could play music until I started seeing like kind of the local, punk bands play like the community college or the fire hall, and then I would see like, oh, that guy's my age, and he has kind of a shitty guitar, like I got a shitty guitar, and like he's not great, but man, they have an energy and they're doing it. For me, it was like seeing people my age doing it, not caring about, oh, I can't do the hammer-on Eddie Van Halen things. Just like, we got 3 or 4 guys together, we came up with 3 or 4 songs, and they might sound crappy, but we're going to play them anyhow. And for me, that was kind of the lightning bolt moment for me, like where it all kind of coalesced. It's like, okay, I like music. I can play music. It doesn't have to be fantastic music, but I can always get better.
Well, it's fantastic now. Right?
It's fantastic now, but when I was 15, you can talk to my parents about how fantastic it was. But I guess my mindset was always like, I can learn a power chord now, I can play in the garage with my friends, and I can always get better.
1, 2, 3, 4. I see you crazy, baby, walking out the door. I feel like sometimes maybe I've been here before. Or do you hide your secrets? Only time will tell. When will you stop pretending? Night is ending and I see the sparks in your eyes. And when our lives were hazy, you were always sure Sing a familiar song, a tune you've heard before. Why do you hide your secrets? Only time will tell. When will you stop pretending? Night is ending and I see the sparks in your eyes. 'Cause I don't think you feel the fire. It's not keeping you up at night. Where do you hide your secrets? No, you hide them well. When will you stop pretending? The night is ending and I see the sparks in your eyes. I see the sparks in your eyes. I see the sparks in your eyes. I see the sparks in your eyes.
Very nice.
I think we're good at giving songs a chance. Kind of finding an interesting direction or an interesting part and seeing if it wedges in there. But I think we're also very good at like this is where the song wants to go.
That's it. I was gonna say the same thing. A friend of mine a long time ago, when we first started recording, my buddy Chris Rawling, I was like, God, we go over these things, we tweak everything. Like, how do you know when it's done? And he was just like, the song will tell you when it's done, And I was like, basically just, because you got another song to do after that, so you have to call it quits. It can't be your unfinished symphony, Yeah. If there's a flub note in there or you're not sure about something, sometimes that's just part of your song.
And I feel like when we're practicing or writing or something, at least I can hear it when the whole band is coalesced around something.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that little spark or that indicator that says this is where the song wants to go, and we've kind of all figured that out subconsciously sometimes.
I think we all definitely get along, and I feel like we're on the same wavelength, and I think we all kind of know, we all have a similar sense of when the song is where it needs to be.
Yeah, particularly, to my mind, it's particularly kind of like with the arrangement, we want this many verses, this many, kind of the nuts and bolts. How many times are we going to do this part? How many times are we going to do that part? Like, for whatever reason, all four of us seem to always agree, like, kind of when the structure feels right. So that's, you're not getting bored of playing this particular part. Oh, this part's going on too long. I think this band is really strong at kind of determining, when a song, as Brian was saying, is right. When it's kind of, you can tinker a little bit with the individual things you're doing within the structure, but once that structure is solid, I feel like you're in a good place.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the bands that you went and saw live, and there was some difference in the bands that you all mentioned specifically, and there was some teasing going on about some of the stuff that you like. Are there bands that you foundationally all appreciate almost equally or close to equally?
I don't know.
Jay and I are really into metal, and especially older stuff.
Now, do you ever find any agreement with them on any metal?
So I was going to say, sometimes Jay and I are talking about stuff, and I feel like the other guys might even be like, what is going on?
For me, metal is Motorhead, and their metal is
Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it's different. It's different metal.
Well, that's new wave of British heavy metal.
Jay and I were all in.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of like, the hot, the cold. I'm the lukewarm water in Spinal Tap terms. I like old Def Leppard, but I also like Great White and
Yeah, there's-
newish Def Leppard. So
This is a spectrum we just
I'm
described right
kind of
here.
in-
That was
I kind of play the field a little bit.
But then these guys, the three of them, will start talking about stuff that they said something about some drummer the other day, and I just kind of smiled and was going along, and then I turned around and I was Googling it. So I had no idea, and I think it ended up being the guy from Dire Straits or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it was some.
Yeah, I think Brian, Steve, and I are more kind of have some of the foundational kind of punk sort of stuff and post-punk and maybe more on the indie rock.
I think of Guided by
Realm of
Voices
things.
as kind of being
Yeah.
like one of our spirit animals.
I think Dinosaur Jr. is kind of
always.
Yeah.
And they all lose me there.
Yeah. So, whereas Greg and I kind of are more, on the same page as far as 70s, 70s prog rock, classic rock.
Oh yeah, we were
and-
texting all the time.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, we're in a Jethro Tull phase right
We're
now.
deep-
We're in it together.
Deep in it.
But that's not metal, though, right?
No, that's
No,
our
we like
other.
progressive
it gets
rock,
there.
too.
It gets
They
there.
won the
Yeah.
Grammy for metal, right?
It did win the
did.
Grammy.
It is
Yeah.
metal. They beat Metallica. Yes.
Everybody's
years ago,
consternation,
yeah.
right?
Crest of a Knave beat the Black Album. Or not the Black Album, and Justice for All, in
yeah.
like 88 or so.
And Just for All is
Or
not a
89.
great album
And
anyways.
The metal community was livid.
If it had beat Master of Puppets, now that would have been a tragedy.
Oh, yeah. Master of Puppets, I don't think was.
What are you guys talking about?
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, Don Z here in the crib, babies. StageCraft would like to thank these cool cats for their support. Amanda Kleinman, Randipulator, Ellen Simonson, Ross Kleinman, Daddy O 9000, Paul Barsati, Rob D. Parrish. You brought up a good point. I mean, the equipment, having a guitar or whatever instrument you're playing, it kind of doesn't matter that much because, you are there to entertain. It doesn't matter.
I still play bass.
Oh,
Bought it for $200 at like Music and Arts Center like 7 years ago, and that's all I play.
yeah. If it sounds good within the group and it works with the music, what else matters?
Does it, fellas? I mean,
I think
It's
so.
the sound of the buzz.
it's the sound of the buzz.
But
Brought to you by Squire.
There you
Yes,
go.
That's a lot of
that's a
character.
plug. It does.
What about you, Brian?
So I think I kind of grew up in a bit of a musical household. We had a piano in the front room, and I took piano lessons when I was 5. And but I think my lightning bolt was Dire Straits' "Money for Nothing."
Yeah.
And observing that that song had an effect on me, my parents got me a copy of Brothers in Arms on cassette for my birthday, and of course, it was like, what is that sound? And I want to make that sound. And that led me to taking guitar lessons finally. And, all along, I mean, I think where it really took off for me was the early 90s. I'm a little on the younger side to be really deep into the hair metal thing. But in the early 90s, I had a lot of skaters on my block, and so things like Dead Kennedys and Drunk Engines and all that stuff was constantly around. And then I started meeting like-minded people in junior high and high school, and off we went.
Don, what was your first show? What show did you go to?
Yardbirds.
Oh, nice.
Bayou?
What?
At the Bayou?
No, it wasn't here. It was in upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
where are you from in upstate?
Rochester.
Oh, Rochester.
Yeah. Actually, it was in an old auditorium that had a crappy vocal PA system for the auditorium. That's what they used for the PA.
Wow.
The amps carried the sound of the guitars.
Right. Wow.
What was that Yardbirds lineup?
That was with Jimmy Page in it.
Oh, the last lineup. Then.
Nice.
Mhm.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think tickets were only $5.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That ticket stub is probably worth a fortune alone.
Right, that ticket
Yeah.
stub itself, right.
But not as much as the memory.
Yeah.
That's right.
Priceless. Thank you.
Gotcha. This is a aside. Ian's now very much into Green Day, and we just bought tickets for the show at the Nats Stadium next summer.
I bet they weren't $5.
They were not $5.
Is that the one with Weezer and Green Day? And
It is.
It's like the super lineup.
The Hella Mega Tour.
Oh, is that what they're
Yeah, I
calling
think it's called the Hella Mega
It sounds
Tour.
like a great.
It'll be fun. Not his first concert though. He was 5 when we took him to George Washington University to go see Bastille. That was his. It's a British kind of pop band that he was very into when he was 5, and he was the only 5-year-old at that show, and had his big noise canceling headphones on, right?
Yeah, and his Bastille t-shirt.
And his Bastille t-shirt.
Yeah.
Didn't Ian see Steve Arrowed band when he was like 6 weeks old?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
He
Yeah,
remembers.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, Ian was 2 weeks old.
Yeah. He was 3 weeks old.
He was 3 weeks old. Yeah, we played a festival show in Annapolis, and we brought my, we didn't have any other props, so I put my baby up to that's you get the cheap applause.
That's a good,
right.
good stage gimmick.
Yeah.
So,
remember we
winning-
talked any means
Winning them over.
necessary.
That's how we win the audience.
Yep. And then,
Children.
4 years later, he got on the stage with us for the first time and played at the East Puerto Rockin'. And then a few years after that, he got on stage with us at East Puerto Rockin' and played tambourine.
You're never too young to rock.
Yep. It's good for audience reaction, too. I mean, it's not bad at all. What about changing things up on stage?
Do you all play covers in your...
We
got one.
We did one.
Yeah.
We had to do a 3-hour set in St. Michael's this
Did you see
summer.
Jay's face, though? That was amazing. Your kid doesn't translate to radio. He was like, I'm trying to make a noise. Yeah.
Oh, really?
read the
Yeah, we played a Duran Duran cover song, Hungry Like the Wolf. But basically, every time we try to play a cover song, it's a disaster. Sounds terrible.
Why? A lot of bands will play a cover song if they seem like the audience is drifting away a little bit, and just to pull them back in.
Yeah.
I think our sets tend to be so short, we don't really kind of, that's not really much of a concern for
How
us.
short are they?
I think about 45 minutes is kind of
Yeah.
a sweet spot.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
play
it's
45
really
minutes
good.
to an hour.
We're building a library, though.
Yeah, we've got about 20 songs now. We don't. I guess we don't take it seriously enough.
Because I think they could be wonderful interpretations of stuff.
Yeah.
Wasn't our main motivation for Hungry Like the Wolf because it was really simple?
Yeah, it needs to be like 4 chords.
We did a Beach Boys song a long time ago.
Yeah,
Obscure
well,
one.
that was a little too challenging for me to sing, so it didn't sound good.
But it was a good song. I
Yeah.
had never heard it
It's
before
a-
we covered it.
I
Girl,
think
Don't Tell Me You Were.
Girl, Don't Tell Me. It was from like Beach Boys Today. I
Great
think.
song. Yeah, I play that.
Yeah,
myself.
yeah. Yeah, I can't hit those high notes.
Our rendition of Hungry Like the Wolf was a wonderful interpretation.
It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Great.
We like to think we made it our own. Whatever that means.
Well, it's nice. Kind of nice to hear, especially if the audience knows the original, then hear the band do it. This is kind of where they're coming from.
Right. And if you're playing like a strange, if you're playing a venue where you're the entertainment, no one knows who you are, like this particular show, to play something that they're kind of familiar with can help to endear you. But but we don't want to be known for that's what we do is play these cover songs.
I'm sorry, fellas, we're out of time.
Oh.
And if you're a huge fan of StageCraft, we hope you listen every single week. WERALP 96.7 FM. That's Arlington Radio, Don.
It is.
It goes a little further than that, though.
It goes about, I'd say about 8 miles from the station.
But if you can't get the station, you can go to Mixcloud.com, put StageCraft into the search box, and what can you find there, Don?
Well, you could find your computer.
Hopefully you had the computer before you typed it into your search box. Thank you. Good night. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's great.
Who gets-
Really
who
nice.
gets
Thanks
to
for
edit?
playing.
Who gets to edit all that?
Oh, I'll edit it. I'll edit it, yeah.
He's going to let it go as it is.
Yeah, that's just gonna
71 minutes. Let it go.
This was live.